Hey guys, back at it again with another video, but this video is like no other. This is a special Easter video, in which I am going to be covering Easter Island. You know, that little island in the middle of nowhere, with all the stone heads on it. Yeah, that's what this video is about. I'm sorry this is a little late too, but it's Easter, I wanted to enjoy myself a little bit, special day. But, we're here, and without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Now, something that may be on your mind is, how did these stone heads get made? And who even made them? How did they even get on this island that's like in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? Well, that was done by the Polynesians, who arrived in the island around either the 1200s or the 800s. And also, the island was not in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's actually more closer to South America, in that side of the Pacific. So yeah, somewhere between the 1200s and the 800s, one of those years, the Polynesians arrived on the island. And when they arrived, they came to like absolutely nothing there. There was just an island with an abundance of resources on it, and they would stay there for centuries. And they did do that. In fact, they had hundreds of years on that island, where nobody could really bother them and without European contact, so they would have had plenty of time to build all those stone heads, which they did. And they thrived on that island. They lived for a very long time there, and there was generations of people on that island. One of the major crops of this island was sweet potatoes, and they grew a lot of these. This was like the major crop of the island. Before the Europeans arrived, the island was probably a paradise for these people. There wasn't really any dangerous animals and no colonizers yet. Nobody was there to mess with them, and they were pretty much there undisturbed. This meant that the population would grow a lot. And before European arrival, the population skyrocketed, reaching about a height of 1,500 people. 1,500. Actually, wait. 15,000 people. That's it. And that's a lot for a tiny island, so they didn't exactly go very well with that, and the island suffered a lot from the overpopulation. And there was a mass shortage of resources on the island, which meant the population was going to decline heavily. And this happened a lot, as tons of people started to die before the European arrival. And by the time the Europeans arrived, there was about 3,000 people left on the island. The first Europeans to arrive on the island were the Dutch, who arrived in 1722. They didn't really stay on the island though, and they sort of left a bit after, but not before looking at these stone heads. After the Dutch left, the islanders were split between two factions, which were the Tutu, I'm probably saying that wrong, but the Tutu faction and the Oth Itu faction. I'm probably butchering that, but that's what it said. The Tutu and the Oth Itu split the island in two, and they did not like each other, and they fought each other brutally, and the island suffered because of it. Homelessness became very prevalent, and much of the island was converted to warriors, who were all fighting each other. The Spanish arrived during this time and got to witness a bit of the fighting. And another thing that happened during the fighting was the knocking over of the stone heads. The warriors and the people on the island believed that the stone heads gave them power, and they wanted to weaken each other as much as possible. So they basically knocked over all of their stone heads to weaken each other, so they would all get a better chance at fighting each other. And some of them even got knocked into the ocean, which is really sad. The fighting never really led to much, and it sort of just really weakened the island. And this, combined with diseases that the Europeans brought, ravaged the island's population even more. And the 1700s were not a good time for the islands at all. The 1800s were not much better either, as during this time, slavers from Peru started raiding the island and taking people off of it and taking them back to the mainland so they would be slaves. And this overall just weakened the population of the even more, which dipped into just the hundreds and less than the thousands. The French missionaries established a permanent presence on the island by establishing little bases and churches, and they would begin trying to convert the locals from their local religion to Christianity. The 1900s were sort of an interesting time for the island. A man by the name of John Baptiste d'Utreborne, I'm probably not saying that right, bought the island from the French missionaries. Although he didn't really stay very long and he pretty much died a few years after, which then led to Alexander Salmon Jr. taking over. He reigned over the island a little bit longer than his predecessor, but he eventually decided to sell the island to the Chilean government in 1881, and then afterwards the island would fully remain in Chilean hands until the modern day. The Chileans ruled the island pretty well, but they didn't really care very much about the natives, although they didn't really make an effort to remove the natives, but they sort of put the island under their navy's control, and they banned anybody from going out of a small area called Hangaroa on the island until the year 1966, when they finally granted the Rapa Nui people who inhabited the island citizenship, and they also allowed them to walk around freely just out of Hangaroa and around the island fully again. Afterwards, I would say that the island has sort of recovered from the chaos of the 1700s and the 1800s and all of the population losses. And now in the modern day, Easter Island is a prominent tourist attraction and a very popular site for people to visit. And the island has about 7,000 something people on it now, and it's sort of recovered from the past. And the native people who almost got wiped out still managed to survive and preserve their legacy, although much of it has been lost, as a lot of it wasn't really written down and was passed by oral teachings, but some of it still survives to this day, and the Rapa Nui still exist on the island, and they still prosper today. And yeah, that's really all I wanted to say for this video, just a little bit of history on Easter Island, and I gotta say, this video really shocked me making it. There was a lot more history than I thought there would be on this tiny little island. Like, I did not expect all of this. There was a lot of behind it. And this is overall a pretty fun video to research. And yeah, that's all I really wanted to say. Hope you guys learned something, and if I got anything wrong, please tell me in the comments. I would really love for any misinformation I said to be corrected. And yeah, thank you for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next epic video. Alright, bye.